In the heart of a lush green valley, nestled between rolling hills and vast stretches of golden savanna, lay a village where the sun seemed to shine a little brighter, and the stars twinkled with stories of old. This village was known for its simplicity and peacefulness, where families lived in harmony and life moved at a steady, predictable pace. Among the people of this village was Kessie, a woman whose beauty and grace were known far and wide. At 23, Kessie was the epitome of elegance. Her smooth, dark skin glistened under the African sun, and her thick braids framed her face, accentuating her bright, intelligent eyes. But beneath that radiant exterior was a woman whose heart had been bruised, battered by the one man she had once believed would be her forever. It hadn't always been this way for Kessie. There was a time when she had been deeply in love with Mosi, the most popular young man in the village. Mosi had been everything to her, strong, charming, and full of ambition. He had captured her heart with promises of a bright future together. The village had buzzed with excitement at the thought of their union, convinced that they were destined for each other. But dreams have a way of shattering when ambitions overtakes love. Mosi had grand plans for himself, but not for Kessie. Plans that didn't include staying in the village. One day, without much warning, he announced that he was leaving for the town nearby to seek his fortune. Kessie had been heartbroken for supportive, promising to wait for him. Days turned into months, and letters that once came frequently began to dwindle until they stopped altogether. Rumors soon spread that Mosi had found another woman in the town, leaving Kessie alone and humiliated. The village whispered behind her back. Some pitied her, others believed she wasn't good enough for Mosi. But Kessie bore it all with grace. She withdrew into herself, focusing on her family and becoming a source of strength for her parents. Over time, she rebuilt her life, though the scar Mosi left behind never fully healed. Just as Kessie began to regain her sense of self, a new ripple of excitement spread through the village. A wealthy young man from the city had returned, Jabari. Jabari had been born in the village, but had left when he was very young to pursue his education and build a business. He had become widely successful, with wealth beyond anything the villagers could imagine. His return was marked by the glinting carriage he arrived in, his servants following closely behind. Women in the village chattered excitedly at the sight of him, many hopeful that he might choose one of them to marry. But Jabari's eyes were set on only one person, Kessie. Jabari had never forgotten Kessie. As children, they had played together by the riverbank, and even then, he had admired her beauty and kindness. But as they grew, their paths diverged. When he left the village, his heart still held a place for Kessie, and upon hearing of her heartbreak with Mosi, he knew it was time to return, not just to the village, but to Kessie. Jabari approached Kessie's family with humility and grace, asking for her hand in marriage. Kessie's parents were shocked and honored. A man of Jabari's stature could have any woman he wanted, but he had chosen Kessie. It seemed like a fairy tale unfolding, but Kessie was hesitant. Her heart, still wounded from Mosi's betrayal, was afraid to trust again. Could she let herself fall in love after everything she had been through? Jabari, sensing her reluctance, did not press her. Instead, he showed her kindness, patience, and sincerity. Slowly, Kessie's heart began to soften. Here was a man who valued her for who she was, not for what she could offer him. It wasn't long before Kessie found herself drawn to Jabari, his gentle nature and steady confidence beginning to heal the wounds Mosi had left behind. However, not everyone was happy with this new development, especially Mosi. Mosi had returned to the village months before, his dreams of wealth in the town having crumbled. He returned with nothing but his pride, and seeing Kessie flourish without him gnawed at him. When he learned that Jabari, the wealthy and successful man from the city, was set to marry Kessie, jealousy consumed him. How could the woman he had discarded so carelessly now be desired by a man like Jabari? How could Kessie, whom he had once viewed as inferior, be moving on to a life of luxury and happiness? Driven by envy and spite, Mosi concocted a plan to ruin Kessie's chances of happiness. He began spreading a malicious rumor. One evening, as the village gathered around the central fire to share stories, Mosi stood up, his voice smooth but sinister. "There is something you all need to know before this wedding happens," he said, his eyes glinting in the firelight. "Kessie is not who you think she is. While I was in the town, she was involved with a man from another village. She has disgraced herself, and her family has hidden it from all of you." The villagers, always hungry for gossip, gasped. The rumor spread quickly. People who had once admired Kessie now looked at her with suspicion. Even those who had pitied her heartbreak began to question her character. Had Kessie really betrayed the village's trust? Could it be that she wasn't the innocent woman they thought she was? When the rumor reached Kessie's ears, she was devastated. She knew Mosi was behind the lies, but the damage was done. Her family was heartbroken, and her father, who had always been a proud man, began to withdraw into himself, ashamed by the cloud of doubt that now surrounded their household. Jabari, though shaking, stood by Kessie's side. He believed in her, but the whispers around the village were hard to ignore. The villagers began to doubt whether the wedding should proceed. After all, Mosi's claim was serious. If true, it could ruin not just Kessie's reputation, but also the honor of the entire village. The village elder Bwana Tembo, sensing the growing tension, called for a formal meeting to address the matter. It would be a trial of truth, not in a spiritual sense, but one grounded in witness testimony and evidence. Anyone with knowledge of Kessie's supposed transgressions was invited to speak, and both Kessie and Mosi would have the opportunity to defend themselves. The day of the meeting arrived, and the village square was packed with people eager to hear the outcome. Kessie stood tall, though her heart was heavy. She knew the truth. But how could she convince a village that had already begun to believe Mosi's lie? Jabari stood by her side, his unwavering support giving her the strength to face the crowd. Mosi, smug and confident, was the first to speak. He repeated his claims, this time embellishing his story with even more detail. "When I was in the town," he said, "I heard from a trusted source that Kessie had been visiting another man in the neighboring village. She was seen with him on multiple occasions. I returned to the village to protect you all from this shame." The crowd murmured, and Kessie's heart sank. Mosi's lie was so elaborate, so convincing, that even she feared it would be impossible to refute. But just when it seemed Mosi's deception might win the day, a voice rang out from the back of the crowd. "That's not true." The villagers turned to see a man named Nuru stepping forward. Nuru was from the neighboring village, where Mosi claimed Kessie had visited, and he had something important to say. "I live in the village Mosi is talking about," Nuru said, his voice calm but firm. "I know Kessie, and I have never seen her in my village. What's more, I have spoken with Mosi's brother. Mosi himself boasted about his plan to risk Kessie's reputation. He never thought it would come to this, but now the truth must be told." The crowd gasped, and Mosi's face turned pale. He hadn't expected anyone to challenge his story, least of all someone from the very village he had lied about. Bwana Tembo, the village elder, called for order. "Mosi," he said, his voice stern, "do you have anything to say in your defense?" Mosi stammered, his bravado crumbling under the weight of the truth. It was just a misunderstanding," he muttered, but the crowd had already turned against him. Jabari stepped forward, his voice filled with quiet authority. "I have always believed in Kessie's integrity. Now, it is clear that Mosi's lies were born from jealousy. I asked the village to see Kessie for who truly she is, a woman of strength, honor and dignity." Mosi, realizing he had no way out, tried to leave quietly, but Bwana Tembo stopped him. "You will not simply walk away from this, Mosi," he said. "You have dishonored not only Kessie, but this entire village with your lies. You will leave this place and never return." Shamed and defeated, Mosi fled the village that very night, his reputation destroyed, his future uncertain. He disappeared into the shadows, never to be seen again. The village, now united in support of Kesi, rejoiced at the downfall of Mosi. However, despite the relief she felt in seeing the truth finally prevailed, Kesi remained quiet and thoughtful. The weight of the past few weeks had taken its toll, and while the villagers celebrated her vindication, she knew that her journey to heal from the scars of betrayal was still not complete. Jabari, ever attuned to her emotions, noticed the quietness in her and gently led her away from the bustling crowd. They walked in silence towards the edge of the village, where the land opened up to a vast serene field of white flowers. Here, away from the murmurs of the village, they could finally breathe. "You have been through so much, Kesi," Jabari said softly, breaking the silence. "But you have handled it with grace and strength that few could muster. The village now sees what I have always known. You are a woman of honor." Kesi gave him a small grateful smile. "Thank you, Jabari. Your support has meant more to me than I can say. But I can't help but feel exhausted by it all. For so long, I tried to move past what Mosi did to me. And just when I thought I had, his lies pulled me back into the darkness." Jabari took her hands in his. "You may feel tired now, but remember, Kesi, you've won. You didn't let his lies destroy you. And more than that, you have shown everyone your true strength. What you've gone through isn't just about exposing Moses' lies. It's about reclaiming your own life, your own future." Kesi looked up at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You are right. I have been fighting not just against Mosi, but for myself, for my own peace. I just want to be free of all this." "You are free now," Jabari said. "Free to live the life you deserve. And if you have me by your side, I'll be there with you every step of the way." Kesi's heart swelled at his words. Though Mosi's betrayal had once shattered her faith in love, Jabari's unwavering support and kindness had slowly pierced her heart back together again. She knew that while her journey had been difficult, it had led her to a place of strength and to a man who truly valued and respected her. The days that followed were filled with preparations for their wedding, but this time there was no cloud of suspicion or doubt hanging over the event. The entire village rallied around Kesi, eager to show her their support. Women who had once whispered behind her back now worked tirelessly to ensure that every detail of her wedding was perfect. The village men, led by Jabari's friend, built a beautiful pavilion for the ceremony in the middle of the wildflower, where Kesi and Jabari had shared their quiet moments. On the morning of the wedding, Kesi's heart was full of emotion. She had survived the storm of lies and deceit, and now she was ready to step into a new chapter of her life, a chapter filled with love, trust, and hope. Dressed in a traditional gown made from the finest fabrics, Kesi looked like a queen. Her mother and sisters helped her prepare, their smiles filled with pride and joy. For her family, the wedding was not just a celebration of love, but also a testament to Kesi's resilience. As the time for the ceremony approached, the entire village gathered in the white flower field, their hearts light and joyful. The sound of drums filled the air, and the women's orations echoed across the valley. The flowers swayed gently into the breeze, their vibrant colors reflecting the joy that filled the atmosphere. Jabari, standing tall and proud at the altar, watched as Kesi approached, her eyes shimmering with emotion. She walked slowly, her heart pounding, not from fear, but from the overwhelming sense of peace and happiness that now surrounded her. When she reached Jabari, the village fell silent. Bwana Tembo, the village elder, stood before them and began the ceremony, his deep voice resonating with the significance of the moment. "This union," Bwana Tembo said, "is not just the joining of two people. It is the union of truth, love, and resilience. Kesi, you have shown us all what it means to face adversity with strength and dignity. And Jabari, you have proven that love, when it is true, stands firm in the face of any challenge. Today, we celebrate not just your love, but the triumph of truth over lies. Kessie and Jabari exchanged their vows, speaking from their hearts. They promised to stand by each other through whatever life might bring, to cherish one another, and to build a life rooted in love, trust, and respect. As Bonatembo pronounced them, husband and wife, the village erupted in cheers. The sound of drums, singing, and laughter filled the air as the villagers embraced the couple, showering them with blessings. The celebration lasted well into the night, with dancing, feasting, and joy filling every corner of the village. Kessie and Jabari, now united as one, danced among the white flowers, their hearts light and free. The journey that had brought them together had been filled with trials, but in the end, they had emerged stronger, ready to face the future hand in hand. As the stars twinkled above them, Kessie looked around at the people she had grown up with, the people who now stood by her side in support and love. The village, once filled with whispers and rumors, had become a place of unity where truth and resilience were celebrated. And in that moment, Kessie knew that she had found not just love, but a life of peace, joy, and fulfillment. Did you enjoy our story? Thank you for listening. Please do well to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The story of Kessie and Jabari till today has become a legend in the village, a tale passed down through generations as a reminder of the power of truth, that importance of standing strong in the face of adversity, and the beauty of a love that endures. Please don't forget to like, don't forget to comment and subscribe. And please tune again for more interesting stories. Thank you for listening.